The fluorescent lights above buzzed faintly, a sterile hum that matched the cold sting of the hospital air. I sat there, my hands clenched so tightly my knuckles looked bone white, as every eye in the room turned toward me. My parents' faces were pale, frantic, while she, my so-called sister, smirked faintly from her hospital bed, like even sickness couldn't dim her superiority. "You're the only match," the doctor said, his voice a gavel striking. "If you don't donate, she won't make it." Gasps filled the room. My mother clutched her pearls. My father's jaw tightened like stone. And then her eyes, those same eyes that once watched me lose everything because of her lies, locked onto mine. Not with gratitude, not even fear, but entitlement. "She'll do it," my mother declared, before I'd spoken a single word. But I did speak. Slowly, deliberately, each word cut sharper than a scalpel. "No, I won't." The silence that followed wasn't silence at all. It was the sound of a family breaking. And yet, deep inside, I knew this wasn't the moment she destroyed me. This was the moment I began to take everything back. Long before the sterile hospital air and the accusation in my parents' eyes, my life was simple. I was the quiet one, the steady one, the one who played by the rules and believed, perhaps naively, that if I worked hard enough, the world would meet me halfway. I built my career brick by brick, staying late at the office when no one else would, answering emails at 2 a.m, volunteering for projects no one wanted. I wasn't brilliant, but I was relentless. That relentlessness had finally started to pay off. I was on track for a promotion that meant everything: stability, respect, my own corner of the world carved by my own hands. And then there was her, my sister, the golden child. Where I earned things, she expected them. Where I bent backward to avoid conflict, she lit fires just to watch them burn. To neighbors, she was charming, quick with a laugh, perfect teeth flashing like a weapon. To my parents, she was flawless, the daughter who could do no wrong even when she left scorched earth behind her. I still remember the piggy bank, not the plastic cartoon ones kids get at the dollar store, but a heavy ceramic one my grandfather had given me. I saved coins in it for years as a child, every clink of metal a small triumph. My sister never had one. She didn't need it. My parents handed her crisp bills whenever she wanted. One day, I came home to find my piggy bank shattered on the floor, coins gone, her shoes tracking white dust across the carpet. "I needed it," she shrugged, like it wasn't theft. When I looked to my parents for justice, they told me, "Don't be so dramatic. She'll pay you back." She never did. That piggy bank, or rather the memory of it, stuck with me, not for the money it held, but for what it meant. I could give, and she could take, and somehow she'd still be painted as the victim, or worse, the winner. The pattern only grew worse with age. When I got my first car through years of saving, she borrowed it one night without asking, returned it with a dent in the bumper, and laughed when I pointed it out. When I earned an award at work, she showed up at the family dinner with news of her exciting new opportunity, effortlessly shifting the spotlight. When I kept my head down, she dragged my name through the mud, whispering poison into the right ears until I was painted as bitter, jealous, cold. The humiliation wasn't always grand, but it was sharp, like paper cuts you don't notice until you see the blood. The final sting came the day she showed up at my office. I was in the middle of a meeting with a potential client, the kind that could make or break my promotion. She barged in without knocking, tears streaming down her face, clutching a folder of papers. "She ruined my life," she sobbed, pointing directly at me. "She sabotaged my application. She's been out to get me for years." The client's eyes widened. My boss shifted uncomfortably. I felt the ground crack beneath me. And though the claims were absurd, the damage was instant. Doubt hung in the air like smoke. That was the day my career slipped through my fingers, not because I wasn't good enough, but because her lies stuck faster than my truth. I remember standing in the empty office after everyone left, staring at the city lights through the window, feeling the weight of everything I had lost. And yet, even then, even stripped of so much, I swallowed it. I told myself, let it go. Keep the peace. Maybe one day she'll realize, but some people don't realize. Some people don't change. And as I'd soon learn, some people don't stop taking until you finally say no. After the office incident, something in me shifted. Not a dramatic, cinematic collapse, just a quiet breaking, like a hairline fracture that deepens each time weight presses on it. My career, once so promising, now dangled by a thread. The promotion I had worked toward for years vanished, replaced with tight smiles and polite excuses. Maybe next quarter, my boss said, but we both knew what he really meant. Her performance that day, her tears, her lies, had planted seeds of doubt in soil that would never yield me anything. At home, things weren't better. "She's your sister," my mother scolded when I tried to defend myself. She didn't mean it. My father shook his head, muttering, "You're always so sensitive." Meanwhile, she smiled, always smiling, that smug curve of lips that told me she knew exactly what she was doing, and that she'd gotten away with it again. The harassment didn't stop at work. She took her campaign further. Social media posts laced with half-truths, vague but pointed enough for acquaintances to piece together who she meant. Friends I had grown up with stopped calling. Invitations stopped arriving. At gatherings, whispers filled the space like static, eyes flickering to me, pitying or suspicious. I could never tell which. Nights became my enemy. I would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, the glow of my phone taunting me with her latest post, her latest jab. My chest ached with a heaviness that felt physical. My breath caught shallow. I tried to bury myself in books, in long walks, in the mindless routine of washing dishes and folding laundry, but the tension followed me. I carried it in my shoulders, my jaw, the pit of my stomach. I began to dream of silence, not peace, but absence. A world without her voice poisoning everything I touched. And then, something unexpected happened. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I ducked into a small cafe downtown, desperate for escape. My hands shook from too much coffee and too little sleep, and I just wanted one corner where her shadow didn't reach. I was halfway through stirring sugar into my cup when someone slid into the seat across from me. "You don't know me," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. "But I know you." I blinked, startled. She introduced herself, an old acquaintance, someone who had once worked briefly at the same office as me, years ago. I remembered her faintly, her laugh more than her face. "I saw what she did to you," she said plainly, "and I know it wasn't true." For a moment, I couldn't speak. My throat burned with unshed tears. I had become so used to the isolation, to being doubted, that the simple act of someone saying they believed me felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "You're not alone," she added. "She wants you to think you are. Don't give her that." That was the first time someone reminded me I wasn't alone. And it lit something inside me, a spark. Small, fragile, but alive. Her composure at that family meeting had been a mask, and once I'd cracked it, the panic started to bleed through. But instead of backing down, she did what she always did. She doubled down. The campaign against me intensified. Suddenly, rumors spread like wildfire. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in months began sending me clipped, accusatory messages. Neighbors avoided eye contact when I walked by. Even old friends who had once trusted me now looked at me with hesitation, like they weren't sure which version of me was real. The hard-working, quiet one, or the bitter saboteur she painted me to be. She had help this time. Flying monkeys. Yes, that's what I called them. People she recruited to echo her lies, to give them the illusion of weight. She whispered poison into their ears, and they carried it forward, infecting everyone else. "She's selfish. She's always been jealous. She's unstable. The words swirled around me, clinging like smoke. And yet, I didn't crumble. Not this time. Because while she spread her stories, I sharpened my truth. Every screenshot went into a folder. Every comment archived. Every interaction meticulously logged. I started to carry a small notebook with me, jotting down dates and times when whispers reached me. It was exhausting, paranoid even, but for once I wasn't powerless. I was building something, a record, a weapon. The piggy bank came back to me then, in memory. I could still see its shattered pieces on my childhood floor. Back then, she had taken from me and left me with nothing but dust. But now, I wasn't letting her steal without consequence. Every scrap of evidence I saved felt like dropping another coin into a new kind of bank. One that couldn't be broken, one that would pay off when the time came. Of course, it took a toll. Sleepless nights stretched into weeks. My stomach knotted so tightly I could barely eat. I started avoiding family events, sick of the stares, the murmurs. Isolation wrapped around me again, but this time it wasn't suffocating. It was strategic. And through it all, the unexpected ally from that cafe checked in. Sometimes a short text, sometimes a quick coffee. "Stay steady," she'd remind me. "She thrives on chaos. Don't give it to her." Her words became a lifeline. Meanwhile, my sister's desperation grew visible. At gatherings, she laughed a little too loudly, spoke a little too forcefully, her eyes darting to see who was listening. Her perfect mask was slipping, and the cracks widened each time I refused to react. She wanted me to explode, to scream, to prove her stories right. But I didn't. I documented. I prepared. I waited. The storm built, thunder rumbling beneath the surface, and in the quiet moments, when fear clawed at me, I reminded myself, this wasn't endless. A reckoning was coming, and when it came, no one, least of all her, could stop it. It happened on a gray morning, the kind where the sky felt heavy enough to crush the earth. My parents had called another family discussion, though by then, it felt more like a tribunal. The dining room, polished and formal, became a courtroom without the robes or gavels. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at the head of the table as if it belonged to her. A silk blouse, perfect makeup, the faintest curl of her lips, smug as ever. She had gathered her flying monkeys too. 2 cousins sat stiffly, arms crossed. My aunt hovered nearby. Even my parents wore expressions carved from disappointment, like they had already chosen their side. The air reeked of judgment. She started before I'd even sat down. She refuses to help me. She refuses to contribute. After everything I've done for her, after all the sacrifices. I almost laughed. "She's cold," she continued, her voice trembling theatrically. "She would rather watch me suffer than lift a finger." Is this what family means to her? Gasps, murmurs, theatrical tears. She was putting on her greatest performance, and she believed she had the audience in her grip. I let her finish. I let every whisper, every accusing glance, every pointed sigh fill the room. I let the tension coil tighter and tighter until the air vibrated with it. Then I reached into my bag and laid the folder on the table. Thick, heavy, months of work. "What's that?" my father asked warily. "Proof," I said. My voice was calm, steady. The first time in years I'd felt truly in control. I slid the first set of papers forward. Screenshots, her social media posts, every vague accusation, every manipulative half-truth, each one neatly labeled with dates and times. Then came the emails from coworkers, confirming her intrusion at my office, her disruptions, her lies. Finally, the texts, words she had typed in arrogance, jokes at my expense, confessions she never thought would be read again. The room grew silent. "She sabotaged me," she began, but her voice cracked. "No," I said sharply. The sound cut through her performance like a blade. You sabotaged me. My career, my relationships, my reputation. You've spread lies and expected me to stay quiet, but I haven't been quiet. I've been documenting. I slid another page across the table. Her own words stared back at her. Her hands trembled. She tried to laugh, but it came out brittle, hollow. This is nothing. She's twisting everything, but no one was listening. Not anymore. The silence was different now. Not judgment against me, but recognition. The truth was too loud to ignore. My aunt leaned forward, scanning the pages. My cousins exchanged glances, uneasy now. Even my parents looked shaken, their certainty crumbling as evidence stacked higher and higher. I looked directly at her, my voice low but steady. I don't want apologies. I don't want excuses. I want change. The weight of the words settled over the table. She shrank in her chair, her once perfect mask slipping entirely. Her smirk was gone. Her power, gone. And for the first time, I wasn't the one trembling. She was. The house felt different after that day. Not quieter. There was still the murmur of family voices, but lighter. The tension that had clung to every corner, every wall, every polite conversation had lifted, like smoke finally dissipating after a fire. My sister didn't vanish, of course, but the power she wielded so effortlessly was gone. No more smirks, no more whispered accusations, no more manipulative tears. My parents looked at her differently now, a mix of confusion, shame, and reluctant understanding. Even the flying monkeys, the cousins and neighbors who had carried her lies, kept their distance, uncertain, hesitant. And I began to reclaim what had been stolen. I found a new office, smaller but mine, where respect wasn't conditional on her presence. My work, finally uninterrupted, flourished. I rebuilt relationships with friends who had wavered under her influence. Those I had doubted now apologized quietly, realizing the truth had been clear all along. I was the same reliable, determined person I had always been, just stronger for surviving her games. I even retrieved the piggy bank from my childhood, long forgotten in the back of a closet. It had been cracked once, emptied once, but now I placed in it $2 bills, small but deliberate. A reminder that every tiny act of patience, every careful step in documenting her lies, had paid off. It was no longer a symbol of what she had taken. It was a monument to what I had reclaimed. And the deed. The legal deed she had once tried to manipulate, a tool she thought could control me, now rested framed on my desk. Proof not of my past weakness, but of my present authority. I moved forward cautiously, yes, but with clarity. Boundaries were no longer suggestions. They were rules. I chose the family I would trust, the community I would engage with, the life I would build. Peace wasn't an accident anymore. It was intentional. The night I returned home from that first week in my new office, I paused at the window. The city lights stretched out beneath me, countless tiny sparks, each one a choice, a path, a possibility. And I understood finally. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The past had shaped me, bruised me, challenged me, but it hadn't broken me. I was standing taller than I ever had before, a quiet authority radiating from every decision, every step forward. Some wounds would always remain. Some memories would sting, but the story had changed. And now, I was the one writing the next chapter. Have you ever faced favoritism, betrayal, or someone trying to control your life? Have you felt the weight of lies, whispers, or unfair power, but kept going anyway? I want to hear your story. How did you rise above it? What helped you find your strength when the world seemed stacked against you? Share in the comments. Connect with others who've walked the same path. Because here's the truth. Worth isn't something they give you. Worth isn't something measured by someone else's approval or the battles they try to force upon you. Worth is something you claim for yourself, quietly, steadily, relentlessly. You may not see the victory yet, but every small act, every boundary, every documented truth is a step toward reclaiming it. Claim it, own it, and let no one take it from you.